Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I want to talk about upper and lower neighbors, not in your apartment building, but musically, and a special version of those which we use in jazz improvisation and just kind of improvisation in general. The term is enclosure. So enclosure is a sort of a term that, I think bebop musicians and jazz musicians toss around. It's not something that you necessarily learn in sort of conventional Western common practice theory, but it's a great way to think about this. Now, just take a look at this here. So anytime, you've got a chord, let's take G7, for instance, you've got some notes that are in the chord and some notes that are out of the chord. In this case, B is a chord tone, but melodically just playing B, not that interesting. So what we do is we enclose that B, or we approach it. I approached it from a scale step below, or perhaps a scale step above, or maybe a scale step below and a scale step above. That's a type of enclosure, and perhaps the simplest one. Enclosures can be scale steps or chromatic steps. That is to say, the approach note can be thought of as being part of the scale system of the piece, or it can be from outside the scale system of the piece. Maybe the best kind of combination of the two is a scale step above, a chromatic step below. I'll show you what I mean. Should we use G7 again? Let's use B flat 7. Okay. Now B flat 7 has an A flat, but I played a chromatic step below the B flat, and it's even sexier if I do it on the third. That's fun. The E against the F sounds great. Scale step above, half step below. Enclosures are a way of kind of preparing the listener, putting them off balance a little bit, and then landing on the satisfying destination. They're a way of anticipating a chord tone. In sequence, it can be really, really satisfying. Again, this has a really pretty strong jazz flavor, but it's definitely applicable to any solo approach. Any chord tone approach when you're soloing can be embellished with enclosures. The embellishments there were all about the scale step above, half step below trick. Now you can have double enclosures as well, approaching from 2 steps above, down below, and back again, or approaching from 2 steps below, 1 above, or 2 and 2. I mean, there's quite a bit of flexibility and a number of possibilities here. The chromaticism question is kind of the one that comes up the most. So let's say I want to approach this G from the C major 7 chord. All right. Beautiful type of enclosure. I actually approached the G from a couple of notes below. I started off on the chord tone E, and then chromatic approach, up above a scale degree and down. Very weird. Interesting, right? How about the opposite? I started on the B. That's a chord tone down to a whole step above, chromatic up to the G. Let's do the same thing on a D minor 7 chord. And then the same thing on the C chord. All together. I mean, if you look at this, this is note salad, right? There's kind of like all the chromatic steps sitting in there. But because I'm very deliberately and intentionally pushing towards a chord tone, creating a sense of anticipation, that enclosure, that sort of embellishment, especially if you think of it as a chromatic embellishment, has intention and direction. Try it yourself. I actually don't want to say much more about it. I'd be curious to hear from you how it works out. There's lots of theory about this, and in general, you may do whatever you'd like. However, there is a general tendency towards scale step above, half step below. Scale step above, 2 half steps below. That's the general tendency in enclosures. And if you're fiddling around with it, start with that. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, and ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos. I'll see you next time.